Hello. Hey y'all. Hey. All right. There you go.
We're here.
It looks so seasoned by this light, but it's so full.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's so
It's
full.
being,
Girl, I don't like that. Mm-mm. I don't like that. It looks see-through, but it's okay.
we all know.
Hey y'all.
Come on in the room.
All right, friend, you want to get us started?
Yes, ma'am. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us. It is 5:01 p.m. We're going to get started. Today is our first story time. We're going to be discussing our background, specifically focusing on homelessness and how we were dealing with that as we progress through our respective careers, and just thriving in spite of. So, yeah, friend. I have a couple of statistics that I want to share with you guys. So, when it comes to homelessness statistics, in minorities, especially African American, Indigenous people, we experience homelessness at a much higher rate than whites. Although we only make up about 13% of the US population, we account for 37% of homelessness. And according to the Annie E. Casey Foundation, or AECF.org, about 3.5 million young adults aged 18 to 25 and 700,000 youth aged 13 to 17 experiences some form of homelessness in a given year. Black youth have an 83% increased risk of experiencing homelessness in their life. 83%. That's really high. So we're going to talk about our perspective and our experiences. And if you guys have any comments, questions, please feel free to chat. Put it in the chat. So I'm gonna start with my story. So I rarely, this is my first time sharing what I've experienced with homelessness, on a public platform. People that are close to me, they already know what I've been through. But I'm gonna share it with you guys. So I graduated from high school. First of all, let's backtrack. Everyone knows I'm from New Orleans, and I experienced the back end of Hurricane Katrina. So before it came in 2005, I was displaced to Texas briefly. My mom was already in Virginia with my niece. She had just been born, and my sister was deployed. So she was out to sea. She just had my niece. My mom had all intentions of going to get my niece and bringing her back to New Orleans. But Hurricane Katrina was coming, so she stayed in Virginia. And so I was left behind because it was a school day when my mom left. So she had made arrangements for me to stay with a church friend and take care of me, look out for me until she came back. Well, that never happened. We actually wound up getting separated. And so she was in Virginia, I was in Texas, and we were separated for like 2 weeks before she knew that I had made it out of New Orleans. So the family that I was with, they did like a little fundraiser for me, and they got money to fly me out to Virginia to where my mom was. And so me and my mom rebuilt in Virginia. I finished high school and graduated in 2008. And then I went to college for like a year and a half. And at that time, I was going through a lot of things. First of all, one of my associates, I had found out that he had passed away. They found his body in his dorm room, and they sent like a mass email to all of the students at the school. So I found out he passed away by email. That was number one. Number two, I was in Virginia. My mom was in North Carolina because she had gotten married at the time. And the guy she had married, I begged her not to marry him. For whatever reason, I just felt like he wasn't good for her. And I was like, there's something about him. I can't put my finger on it, but there's something about him that I don't trust, I don't like. Please don't marry him. She did it anyway. They moved to North Carolina. So while I'm at school and I heard about my associate passing away, my mom is calling me, texting me, crying, saying that, the marriage isn't what she thought it was. He's abusive. She wants to get away. She's afraid. And so I'm going through all of these emotions. I'm away from my mom. My friend just passed away. I'm stressed out about school. This is my first time really away from home on my own. So it was just a lot of overwhelming emotions. And I'm like, I can't do this. So I'm like, Mom, how do you feel about me moving with you to North Carolina? Like, I'm over school. Like, I need a break from school right now. A lot is going on and I'm worried about you. What do you think about me coming by you? So she was like, I don't care what he says, you're coming. So her and her husband at the time drive to Virginia to the school that I was at to come get me. I withdrew, got my final transcripts, all of my documentation in order. I had everything in my hand as I walked off the campus to the car, and we drove back to North Carolina. Where they stayed was a really, really small town. Nothing really there, not a lot of schools, just like a max of maybe 500. I'm being exaggerant. Maybe like 1,000 people. Really small town, no school. And the closest major city was maybe like an hour half away. So I'm like, I hate it here. I'm not in school. I miss school. I miss my friends. I miss being able to go and come as I wanted to. And I just isolated myself. I slipped into a really deep depression. I lost a whole bunch of weight because I wasn't eating. And it was a really tough time. And then the energy around me with my mom and her husband at the time was really heavy. We had to walk around, on eggshells. Any little thing would set him off. Me and my mom were taking shifts sleeping. She would tell me, okay, put this under your pillow, like hide this. We were hiding valuables. When he would leave the house, that's when we would leave. Like, it was just too much. It was given all domestic violence, abuse type situation. So one day, my mom was like, okay, well, I want to leave. And I'm like, okay, well, Ma, where we gonna go? And she was like, I don't know. Like, I've made friends at church and, I have a job, I can reach out to some people and see if we could stay with them for a little while until, we get back on our feet. And I'm like, okay. So she was like, I'm gonna pack a bag. And I was like, well, okay, you want to leave? I want to leave too. Let me pack a bag. And she was like, no, 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 I don't want us to separate. Let me pack my bag first. And then I'll come with you upstairs and you can pack your bag. And I was like, okay. She was like, I don't want to set him off because if he sees me packing my bag with the intent to leave, I'm afraid he's going to do something. Now, I didn't realize how bad it was until I was in the house with them. And I found out a lot more about him. Basically, he was like a recovering drug addict and really wasn't recovering. He was still doing drugs. So buying it, meeting up with the dealers to get it, not paying them, getting it and then dashing, not paying them. So they looking for him. They following him. So these people know where we live. So my mom is, always on edge. And I'm like, this been going on? So anyway, she was like, just stand outside our bedroom door while I get my bag. Once I pack my bag, then I'll come with you upstairs to pack yours. And I'm like, well, if you're talking like this, like he, aggressive and he might try to attack you, we're not going to just be standing here waiting unprotected. So I'm like, let me go grab a knife. So I go to the kitchen, get like a big ass butcher's knife. It's huge. And I'm like, okay, go ahead. I'm going to stand right here at the door. Keep the door open. So the door is open. I'm standing outside of the door with the knife in my hand behind my back. And I'm watching her as she packs her bag. So he's like, what you think you doing? Where you about to go? My mom continues to pack. She doesn't engage. She doesn't entertain. She doesn't answer. And I'm standing there. I'm like, okay, just keep packing. I'm telling myself, stay calm, don't go off or whatever. So she's packing. She was like, okay, we could go pack your bag. He was like, where the fuck y'all think y'all going? I said, you might want to watch your tone. I'm trying to remain calm. My mom just wants to pack a bag. I'm going to pack a bag and we're going to leave for a few days, just to give you your space. So he gets up and closes the door. I can't see my mom. So I pushed the door open. When I pushed the door open, he saw the knife that I had in my hand. And he was like, oh, you think you're going to stab me? You think you're going to try to hurt me? This guy gets up, grabs a hammer, and he's like, I'll bash her head in. I said, bitch, you try to touch my mama, you're going to be laying 6 feet under next to your mo. Play with me. He got scared, said that I threatened him, called the police on me. Police come. They're like, what's going on? And he's like, I'm in fear for my life. She threatened to stab me. And I'm like, tell them the full story. Tell them how you grabbed a hammer, you threatened to bash my mom's head in, and that's where things got complicated. Like, I'm not going to allow you to threaten my mom, and I'm standing right here. That's not happening. So the police was like, well, whose name is on the lease? And he was like, my mom's husband at the time was like, oh, the name is in the lease is in my name. And he was like, okay, since the lease is in your name, what would you like to do? How would you like to proceed? And he was like, my wife can stay, but her, talking about me, she gotta go. I don't want her in my house. Well, my mom steps in and she was like, well, she was only doing what I asked her to do. She was protecting me because I don't feel safe here and I want to leave. My intention was to pack a bag and leave. I don't want to be here. So if she got to go, I'm going to. Like, I'm not going to leave her outdoors by herself. So the cop was like, okay, well, go ahead and finish packing your bag. Young lady, go ahead and pack your bag. You have to leave. Allow this to blow over for a little while, and then maybe you guys can come back together and discuss it, and you could come back here. But for now, you have to leave. So I go upstairs, pack my bag. I pack my essentials. Because I know he's an addict, I'm like, let me get the most valuable things that I have upstairs. Let me hide it somewhere, or let me just bring it with me, because I don't know how long we're going to be gone. So I get those things and we leave. We go to a friend of my mom's that she had met while we were in the area. And it was like everybody kept asking what happened. So we had to keep explaining what happened, what transpired, and why we had to leave. So we were at this one house for, I would say, maybe a week. And then I reached out to my mom's husband's daughter. So technically she was my stepsister. Her daddy married my mama. So that's how we were connected. So I reached out to her and I told her what happened, and basically that we didn't have anywhere else to go. And I asked her, could we come there? She lived with her grandmother at the time. So she was like, I'm sure it'll be okay, but let me double check with my grandma. So she called her grandma, and her grandma was like, yes, absolutely. Tell them they could come. So we went over there for like 2 weeks. So after that, it was just like, we need stability. Like, we can't keep hopping from house to house, asking different people, can we take a room or can we crash on their couch? Like, we need stability. So my stepsister's grandmother was like, oh, I know about this place that takes in, abused women and children. Maybe you guys can go and, get in at that particular facility. So my mom reached out to the director, told her the story, what happened, and the director was like, okay, come on. Like, you guys, I want you guys here. And so my stepsister and her grandmother drove us both to the facility in another city. Maybe, remember I said that was like a major city, like an hour away. So we drove over there and talked to the director in person. The director of the abuse, it was for abused women and children. She was like, well, you can get in, talking to my mom, but your daughter is considered an adult. She's over 18. So technically she's not a child. And my mom was like, yeah, but she's going through this because of me, and I wouldn't feel right as a mom leaving her out back. Like, basically not begging her, but asking her, will you please make an exception? This is a special case. So the director was like, okay, she could stay. So we was happy about that. We were away from my mom's husband. We were seeming like we were getting some stability. It's a shelter, but it's protected. We're near a whole bunch of businesses. If I wanted to, I could get a job. We have food, but there were so many different rules that we had to follow. I had my own separate room. Each room had its own bathroom. So I had my room, my mom had her room. But as more women began to come in with their children, I had to move in the room with my mom. So we were sharing the bed, sharing the room, sharing, the bathroom. And it was just, my mom was depressed. And so her energy was getting on to me. And so I found it difficult for me to feel motivated. Like I was just soaking in woe is me. Um, and I wanted to get out of that. So I'm like, I need a job. I need to get back into school. Like, I'm not about to let this stop me. Like, we're in a bigger city. I see, different scholars that look like me, and they look like they're my age. Like, I just want to get back on my ish. Like, I'm ready to get back into school. So I talked to my stepsister about it, and she was like, oh, there's a major HBCU where you are. Have you looked into it? Here's the website. So I go to the website, I'm looking through the majors, and I'm like, okay, this sounds interesting. I like science, I like STEM. I want to sign up for this particular program. So she was like, okay, I can help you. So my stepsister helped me fill out my application. I submitted it, I got in, and you know, I was like, okay, the semester doesn't start until the summer. So summer semesters typically start in May. So I'm like, okay, I still have time. This is about what, early March, early April. So I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna just sit around and wait until the summer semester starts. I need to make money. So, like I said, there were several businesses and companies and things along the street that the facility was on. So the rule was you couldn't tell people where you were located. Like, that was the rule. Like, if someone dropped you off, you had to be dropped off down the street and you walked the rest of the way, or you couldn't give an address, like, because this is an abused women and children shelter, and a lot of the abusers would find out where these women were located and hurt them. Some of them even threatened to kill them. So you had to move a little differently. So I was like, I really, really want a job, Mom. And she was like, you're going to have to talk to the director because you know the rules. So I went to the director. I'm like, I know I'm older or whatever, and the rules are you're not allowed to do like outside activities, and you have to, stay within the constraints of the facility. But I've already gotten into school. I'm gonna start at an HBCU. I'm really excited, but the summer semester doesn't start until May, and I would like to work. She was like, where do you want to work? And I was like, I want to work at McDonald's. I've already filled out the application. They've already told me I can start on this date. I just need the clearance from you. So she was like, okay, fine. What would be your shift? And I was like, I would want to work in the evening from like 3:30-ish till close, which was 11. The curfew for the facility was 10. So she was like, you can't make it from 3 to 10? And I was like, no, because I kind of want to make as much money as I can before school starts. So she was like, okay, well, if you're going to do 11, make sure you check in with the caretaker, because we also had a caretaker where we had to check in with her. If we were going to go somewhere, we had to tell her, we had to sign out. When we came back, we had to sign in. We had to text her, oh, we're on our way. We're going to be, this is the ETA. Like, it was so much that you had to do just to go take a walk down the street. You had to tell somebody before you left. So anyway, she was like, okay, you could get a job. Just make sure you check in with the caretaker. I'm like, okay, cool. So there were so many instances where people be like, oh, where you live? And I'm like, oh, I live around here. I live in the area. And they're like, well, where? What street? And I'd be like, oh, such and such street. I couldn't tell them exactly where. Or if people would ask me, oh, do you need a ride? No, I can walk. That's a long walk, Crystal. Are you sure? Yeah, it's not a long walk. It's okay. I know where I'm going. I'll let you know when I'm making home safely. No, I don't feel right with you walking this late at night. Let me take you home. When people would take me home, it would be really embarrassing to tell them I'm in a shelter. Um, yeah, yeah. So I'd be like, you could drop me off here. I could walk the rest of the way. So that went on for a while. I was working at McDonald's, still living in the shelter, and by the time I knew it, school had started. My summer semester had started, and I was really excited. I was working in the evening time. I was going to school in the morning, and my days just ran. Like I don't know where it came from, but I just did not want to think about where I lived. I was like, I just got to keep going. School, work, and all over again. And by the time I knew it, a year had passed. So a year had passed, and they were like, okay, we're going to help you get your own apartment. We're going to pay the rent. All you guys have to worry about are the lights. So I'm like, okay, I can handle that. At this time, my mom wasn't working. It was just me working at McDonald's and going to school. So I'm like, I can handle the light bill. That's nothing. So we get the apartment, and it just happened to be right across the street from the school I was going to. So I'm like, this is perfect. Like, I could literally get up, go to class, come back home, change for work, and go to work and just repeat the cycle. And I did that for a really long time. So with the stipend that we had, or the program we were in, where they covered our rent, I just took care of the light bill. That eventually ran out. So it came to a time when they were like, okay, you're on your own. You're going to have to cover the rent and the light bill. And my mom was like, well, I don't have no job, so how do they expect me to pay for that? And I'm like, well, Mom, I'm only working, I'm full time at, McDonald's, but I'm also a full time student. Like, I'm not going to be able to pull that much. Like, I don't make that much money at McDonald's. Like, I'm going to need your help. Have you looked up jobs? Have you started applying? Like, what's your status? And she was like, no, I don't feel like going through all of that. I'm tired of working. And I'm like, okay, so what are we going to do? Like, we have this apartment and these people talking about they're not going to pay no more. We about to be outdoors. And she was like, oh, no, I'm not about to be outdoors. I got a husband. I said, what you mean? The same husband that called the cops on me and told them that they didn't want me in their house, and you could come back, that husband, the drug addicted husband? She was like, yeah, we've been talking, and he apologized for what happened, and I've forgiven him. And I want to make the marriage work. He's willing to put in the work, and we want to work together to rebuild our marriage. So he's going to come get me. I'm going back I'm going back to the city that he lives in North Carolina. And I'm like, okay, well, what am I supposed to do? I just started at school. I work at McDonald's. What about me? So she was like, I don't know. I mean, I got some friends, a couple of church friends that you could potentially stay with. And I'm like, well, this was my in-state address. Like, I'm getting in-state tuition. So if I'm going to move and I want to continue to work and go to school, I need an address to put down so that I can continue to get in-state tuition for going to this school. And she was like, oh, well, you could put such and such name down. I already talked to her. You're good. Just put her address down and you're good to go. And I'm like, well, I still don't have nowhere to live. Did she say I could come live with her? And she was like, no, she just said you could use her address. I'm like, okay. So at the time, I'm like stuck in the middle. I'm like, do I go back with her or do I try to find my own way? Because I just got back into school and I love learning. I love doing something towards my degree. I can't stop. So I'm like, well, Ma, you just gonna have to go by yourself. I'm gonna figure something out. At the time, I was in a relationship. And that's a story in itself. We can talk about that in another episode. But basically, I told him what was happening. I'm like, my mom is leaving me. She's going back with her husband. He was like, the same husband that kicked y'all out and called the police on y'all? I said, yes. She said she going back, and I have to figure out where I'm going to go. I don't have nowhere to go. They're taking the apartment because I can't afford rent on my own. I don't know what to do. And he was like, don't worry, Chris. I'm going to figure something out. This dude got a motel for me. It was like it was still in town, but like toward the outskirts where it was cheaper, more affordable. He got a motel for me, set me up. He was like, okay, we're going to stay here for the week. You know, do what you got to do, make your calls, fill out the applications. We're going to try to get you on campus housing. And I'm like, well, I just started. Like, you sure they're going to give me an assignment? He was like, yeah, just do it. You're a student there full time. Surely they'll help you out. So I'm like, okay. So I fill out the application, and I'm like, they're asking for an application fee, $50. I don't have that. He was like, I got it. So he was like, you filled out the paperwork? I said, yes. He was like, what they said? I was like, on the website, it says you have to mail in the payment, and then they'll process you and decide if they want to give you a housing assignment. And he was like, nah, we in the city. We about to just drop it off. And I'm like, okay. So he drives me to the housing office. I drop off my application. I drop off the application fee. And that same day, they were like, oh, we have so many openings in this dorm. You can move in this dorm. And the next day, he helped me move into that dorm. And I was able to live there for 2 years. And then when I became a junior, I lived in another dorm. He helped me move into that one. And I stayed in that dorm until I graduated in 2014. And it's funny because the dorm that I moved to until graduation day was the same dorm. It was right next to the apartment that we lost. So every time I left the dorm, I saw my apartment where I used to live with my mom before she left to go back to the husband that kicked me out in the first place. So yeah, I lived in a shelter, lived in a motel until I was able to get on campus housing.
Girl, I know that had to be hard. Like, I mean, I know it was hard.
Yeah.
Definitely know it was hard. So anybody that's watching, like whatever you going through, like if you're going to school for something, or just, you're trying to start a business, just whatever it is that you're doing, like if you really want to, just keep going for it. Because, I mean, the days be long, but the time gonna pass.
Oh yeah.
Like, it's gonna be worth it. Like, you'll be so happy that you ain't give up on yourself. Like, so just like Dr. Chris shared her story, about homelessness and going to school, I have a similar story. And so I was staying in a homeless shelter, the Covenant House, downtown New Orleans on North Rampart Street. It's a youth shelter, I think 16 to 21. And so we're gonna go back before I even went to the shelter because you got a little backstory. So senior year in high school, I had like all electives. Like I literally could have graduated 2007, but I didn't graduate till 2008. So I could have graduated 2007. My senior year was just all electives. It was a breeze. So I had asked, my parents if I could participate in early release. So that's like when you leave school half a day and then you go work. So she told me no. She told me no, I couldn't do it. And I was just like, like, why? Like, I was always like, pretty smart or whatever. Like I made sure like all my shit was in order. Like my mama never had to handle nothing dealing with school because I made sure like I took care of all of my shit. So I already had it planned. I was gonna work at the courthouse with my grandmother's. Um, and they already had a bunch of girls from my high school that was working at the court office, at the courthouse. So my grandmother was like, yeah, just put your application in. She was like, if I need to take my lunch break, you know, when you take your lunch break so I could pick you up, we could do that. Like my school was probably like 10 minutes away from her job. So she really could have came pick me up. Then I had talked to some other girls that I was in school with, and it was like, well, you could just ride with us. You know, we going to the same place. You know, it don't matter. So I really had like options. Like I had like about 5 options. So then of course, you know, if I'm making money, push come to shove, if I need to call a cab, I'm gonna call a cab. I'm gonna be making money. So, you know, I told my mom about it. She was like, well, no, you can't do it. I was like, well, why? You know, like I'm making money, you know, I have the free time at school, like I have more than enough credits. Like, why can't I, you know, participate in this early release, work release program? So she was just like, no. And that was just her answer. No, she really didn't have a good reason. Just no. Well, what if I don't want to have to hear about it later? Just all kind of bullshit. So bam, did that. So I finished high school. When I finished high school, I applied to Southern University at New Orleans, and I got accepted. So my cousin, he was the chairman over the business department at SUNO. So I did like late registration. We went ahead, we made like my school schedule around her work schedule. So, you know, I had like an hour and 30 minutes after I dropped her off, then that's when my first class started. And by the time she got off of work at 4:30, my last class was at 3:30. So I would have had time to go pick her up from work. He got me work study, he got me everything. When I tell y'all, like I was really set. So it's time for school to start. And then she comes telling me that I need to drop out of school. And I'm like, oh, why do I have to drop out of school? And she was like, because you're not going to be able to come pick me up from work on time. You're going to be late. I was like, no, I'm not. I'm like, you know, me and cousin Frank sat down and we made sure that the schedule, you know, doesn't interfere with me dropping you off and pick you up from work. So she didn't want to hear it. She was just so adamant and pressed about me dropping out of school. So she let me use her car to go drop out of school, but would not let me use her car to go to my classes. Ass backwards. So, but there's a backstory to that. We're gonna get to that another time. And so then boom. You know, now I'm not in school. I'm just sitting at home. I'm not working. You know, I'm looking for jobs, like, you know, but nobody calling me back. So my best friend, you know, started going to another HBCU in the area. And my mama had the motherfucking nerve to tell me, oh, well, instead of you sitting at home not doing nothing, you need to be in school. Like, you telling me that I need to be in school when you made me drop out, bitch? You made me drop out, then you gonna sit up here and throw it in my motherfucking face that I need to be going to school like my best friend? Girl, fuck you. That's really what I wanted to say, but I didn't because I was still trying to be respectful. But I thought all of those things. Like, cause fuck you, don't play with me. So then, you know, she telling me shit, little slick shit here and there, like just to piss me off. And I'm just like, son, if you would have left me alone, I would have been in school. So then boom, I've always wanted to do hair. And yes, y'all, oh, I'm sorry, I am Kai, the hood therapist, okay, spiritual advisor, and I'm a licensed cosmetologist, okay? So I have always wanted to do hair since I was a little girl. So when I was going to school, I was going for business entrepreneurship. That was my major, and my mind was in like psychology. And so that happened, and then so I'm like, okay, ma, I want to go to hair school. And she was like, all right, you know, set the appointment up, and then, you know, we gonna go. So I called, set the appointment up, whatever. And so we go to the cosmetology school, Aveda Institute, New Orleans. So we go we go to the school, we do the tour, we do everything. And so, we sit in that admissions office and we just going over everything. And so when it came down to the financial aid part, that's when the whole visit went left. So we sitting down, and the lady, she's going over the financial aid, and she was like, okay, well, you're gonna have to sign this. This is how much it costs to go to our school, whatever, whatever. And so when she said that, my mama just got quiet. She just was just sitting there like, that's how she was looking at the lady, just looking a blank stare, like the lady asking her question, she not answering her. And I'm just like, man, so my eyes started getting watery, like, and I was like, you know what? I said, I'm so sorry, for wasting your time. I guess I'll just have to come back and apply, once I'm over 25, so that, my parent or guardian doesn't have to sign off on my financial aid. So the lady eyes got watery. She was like, oh, okay, well, good luck, whatever, whatever. Her eyes all red and watery too. So, we leave, we go, get in the car, and I'm just like pissed off, because I'm just like, why? So, very long story short, my mama ended up putting me out. There's a backstory to that too. And I went to go stay with my god sisters, and then that didn't go good. That didn't go right. So then I went to go stay with my other god sister. And so the last god sister I went to stay with, she stopped paying the rent where we were staying at. And I just remember one day, I was watching TV, and this commercial for the Covenant House just kept coming on every single day for a week. Every single day. It just was the first commercial that would come on, the Covenant House, and it had the number on it, and it was just replayed all day, every day, all day, every day. So that weekend came, I think it was like a Friday or a Saturday. I had like this little beep and beep, 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 beep. Couple of minutes after that, this dude come, open the front door, and I'm looking, I'm like, oh, that's my god sister boyfriend. And so I was like, oh, hey, what's up? He was like, oh, nothing. We about to move all the your god sister stuff out the apartment. I was like, oh, for real? And he was like, yeah. She didn't say that she coming to stay with me. I said, no, she didn't tell me nothing. She didn't tell me that she was moving. And he was like, oh, well, you could come. We got extra space. We got a 3-bedroom. Like, you come if you want to. And I was like, no, I'm good. I'm good. He was like, so what you gonna do then? I was like, I'm gonna figure it out. So she just had the boyfriend come move everything. Me and her ain't talking like 2-3 weeks. And she just went with her move on me. So I'm just sitting like in an empty apartment. All we have is a mattress that I was sleeping on, a twin size mattress on the bedroom floor. That's all that I was left in the apartment with. So then the next day I had went by my neighbor. We worked at Kmart together, and I had went by my neighbor or whatever to talk and tell her what was going on. So I opened up the front door, and they got a whole eviction notice on the door talking about, so you got to exit the premises by the end of the month. And I'm like, wow. So this bitch been not paying rent. She been stopped paying our rent. And the fucked up thing is, the apartment wasn't even in her name. It was in her parents' name. So you just fucked with everybody. So I go by my friend, and I'm like, can I see your phone book? And so I just kept remembering the Covenant House, but I couldn't remember the number. So I searched, I'm looking in the phone book, and I find the Covenant House. I call them, and they was like, well, do you have somewhere to sleep tonight? Whatever. I'm like, yeah. I was like, I have somewhere to sleep tonight. I was like, but this is, this will be the last night. So they was like, okay, well, we're gonna send, 2 of our workers to come pick you up, tomorrow morning. Just as long as you have somewhere to sleep tonight. She said, we're definitely gonna come get you tomorrow morning. I was like, okay. So I slept by my friend. And so they called me, gave them directions how to get there. And so it was two ladies. They came, picked me up, and they brought me to the Covenant House. I got checked in. It was like a long process. It was a very long process to get checked in and stuff like that. You got to get all type of shots, and oh my God, y'all, it's a process. So once I got settled into the Covenant House, um, I what happened? I got settled into the Covenant House. Oh, and I was pregnant. I was like 2 or 3 months pregnant at the time, and I ended up having a miscarriage just because like I was just so stressed. So it was probably like my second or third week at the Covenant House. I ended up having like that miscarriage. And that was horrible too. So after that, I'm job searching and stuff because you have to find a job. You have to do something. Get a job or go to school. So, I'm job searching and stuff like that. And, I remember one day when I came back from job searching, I went on the floor, on the girls' floor. And I just remember like all the staff that was on the girls' floor, and one of the staff from the boys' floor came in. I mean, they was already in the office, and it was like, Akaya, come here. And I was like, huh? They was like, come here. And I said, whatever it is, I ain't do it. I wasn't here. I just made it back. It wasn't me. They all bust out laughing. And it was like, girls. It was like, you're not in trouble. They was like, we got an opportunity for you. So one of the guys that worked on the male's floor, he worked at Noka. So he was like, we got a call from a producer, and they asked if we knew anybody that would be interested in doing hair on a movie set. And he was like, and you was like the first person I thought about. I was like, me? He was like, yeah. And I was like, stop lying. You playing? And he was like, I'm not playing. He was like, I'm so serious. He was like, you want it? Like, do you want to do hair on the movie? So I was like, oh my God, yes, 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 yes. So he was like, all right, I'm about to call him right now. And so he called the producers up, and he was like, so, I did speak to the young lady, she is interested in doing hair on the movie set, whatever, whatever. And it was like, okay, great. We're going to set up a meeting so we can meet, she can meet the main actress hair that she's doing, whatever, whatever. So the lead actress didn't like the stylist that they had, and so she was like, she fired her from doing her hair. So that's how she ended up looking for another stylist. So the next day we meet them. I remember, I think it was like the W Hotel. I don't remember. It was one of them hotels, some expensive ass hotels in the French Quarter. So we went to the hotel, met up with the actress and her mom, which they producers, directors, all that other shit, writers and stuff like that too. So, they spoke to production. We discussed my pay and everything. So I worked on the movie set, did hair. I got a couple of friends in Hollywood. Hey, y'all, hey. So, that I was able to take that money to use to pay for me to get to cosmetology school. So I used that to pay for my kit because the kit fee was like $2,000. So once I, finished, we wrapped up the movie and I had all my money saved up. I'm like, I'm about to register for hair school. Like this is my sign for me to go to hair school. So I applied for hair school and I also applied for Dillard University. I got accepted into both. But I was like, do you want to do college or do you want to get your cosmetology, license, a degree, a trade, which one? I'm like, let me go ahead and do hair. That's going to be something quick. I get it over with. I can make money quick. So I'm like, all right, cool. So I went with same cosmetology school, Avita Institute, New Orleans. So I caught the bus. I caught a bus, a streetcar, and a bus to get from downtown to Metairie. So went over there, same admissions director from the previous year when I went with my mama. And I was like, hey, you remember me? And she was like, I do. She was like, I actually do. She was like, how are you? I was like, oh, I'm good. I was like, I was just coming back because, I'm interested, in, starting the next semester. And she was like, okay. So, we was talking and stuff like that. She was like, well, you're still under 25. She was like, so at the time I was 21. So she was like, you're still under 25 unless you have like papers saying that, you're emancipated or something like that. We can't process your application for the financial aid part. She was like, because you're under that age bracket. I was like, well, I stay in a homeless shelter. Can I get a homeless letter? And she was like, you what? I was like, yeah, I stay in a homeless shelter. Like I said it just like I'm like, yeah, I stay in a homeless shelter. I was like, I could get a homeless letter and I could come bring it back up here to you. I was like, would that work? And I'm all excited. And her face just dropped. Like her face dropped. She was like, yeah, you you can do that. You can bring in that letter. She was like, yes, we'll take it. I was like, okay, thank you. All right. I was like, I'll get it and I'll bring it back to you, later on in the week. And she was like, okay. So, I left, got the letter, applied for my financial aid, and I registered for school and I started going to cosmetology school. So I'm in cosmetology school, living in the homeless shelter for youth. And then, just like Dr. Chris, I ended up getting a job at McDonald's. So I got my job working at McDonald's. So now I'm getting up at like 5 o'clock in the morning so I could get to school for 8 because it took all that time to catch a bus, a streetcar, and another bus. Or sometimes just a bus and a streetcar. It took forever. So then I would go to school, and then when I get off from school, I would wait for the bus, and then I would catch the streetcar. So I go straight to work. And then I would get off of work like at 12, 1 o'clock in the morning. Gotta wait for the streetcar to come. And then gotta walk the rest of the way back to the shelter and do it all over again every day for 365 days. And it was times when I really just didn't know how I was going to get up, how I was like just gonna make it because it was hard. Like it was hard. I wanted to quit. Like it was really hard. Like so if y'all going through something and no I don't have kids or nothing, I'm not married, but I know like if you're trying to go to school and you have a family, plus you have like your own stuff going on, like that shit can be so hard and it can definitely be a challenge. Like so I would just like encourage you to just keep going. Like it's definitely gonna be worth it at the end. Like I've been a licensed cosmetologist for 10 years now. Okay, master stylist.
Oh,
Okay, a makeup artist.
okay.
Okay, and y'all, I'm on the queue with makeup on. I'm on the queue with makeup on. Bomb ass makeup artist. Okay, so yes, healthy hair specialist, natural hair specialist. But just don't stop and don't let people their jealousy, their insecurities, because it's a lot to both our stories. Like there's definitely a few backstories to those stories.
Yeah.
That's just like to touch on the surface because I gotta figure out how I wanna get the next part of the story out because I'm not trying to bash nobody. I'm just speaking my truth and telling my story. And if you didn't want nobody to know what you did to me, then you should have never did it.
Hello. Mhm.
So, oh,
So, friend, you I already know. I had several questions about what you've endured, what you've experienced, what you've overcome, and I, when you're on your healing journey and you're addressing like experiences and lessons, I guess my question for you is, this particular part of your journey, what did you learn from it? How did it strengthen you? to be or to set you up for who you are today? What do you think when you have a period of introspection or just reflecting on that homelessness? What do you think that you?
Um, I can honestly say that it really like made me realize that if I don't do it, nobody else gonna do it. Like it made me realize that I have to save myself. Like if I don't do it, who else gonna do it? Like that was really my mindset. Like I was like in this shelter, staying with a bunch of other people, males and females, and just looking back and like looking at the decisions that they made, like I just saw what I didn't want to be. Yeah. I just saw what I didn't want to be. So what I just it just really made me realize if I don't do it, shit ain't gonna get done. And then, to hear like, men, talk about women that's like very independent or like hyper independent, you know, but not knowing the backstory, not knowing the why. Most women that's hyper independent had to be, because if I didn't do it, then who's gonna do it for me? Everybody who claimed that they had your back ended up letting you down. You know what I'm saying? Like the intentions wasn't good. So if I can't trust you, I know for damn sure I could trust me. And I'm not gonna do nothing to fuck over myself or jeopardize myself. And I'm gonna make sure that I'm doing what I have to do to get to where I need to get to. So that was it, pretty much it for me. Just really knowing that all this shit on me. Yeah, what about you?
I had to learn that similar to you, like all I got is me. The main people that you think would care for you, protect you, take care of you, guide you, you got to do it for you. Like you can't depend on, even if they're your parents. And that was a tough lesson I had to learn. There are many lessons I had to learn, and I'm still learning in regards to like family and people that I consider family, thinking love me and care about me, but they can't stand me. Like that's something that I would never forget. You know, not on pain, and I knew I was different. I wanted different, and I wasn't gonna give up. And I think that experience taught me, you say you want this, all this stuff gonna happen. You're just gonna stop and give up. Because like you mentioned, there were many times when I'm like, I'm over this, whatever. I could just let my dude take care of me. I could just, get a little job and be satisfied with that. I could just, mooch off of this person, that person, but that's not who I am. I've always been get it out the mud, get it for myself. I want to be able to say, I got it. Not that somebody gave it to me or handed it to me. I've always been that way. So like when people, they wonder, well, damn, Chris, you done did X, Y, Z. Why you go so hard? You don't know what I've been through. You don't know what I had to learn on the fly. Nobody taught me this shit. I learned it through trial and error, which is why and it's similar to me and Kai. Like people ask us what made us start Speak Your Truth. And we say because we know what it's like. We know what it's like to not know and still have to figure that shit out. Still gotta get it. Still gotta go. And be just as lost, confused, in pain, disappointed, just a whole bunch of emotions that you're trying to process and still trying to learn as you go. And it's hard. But because we know it's hard, that's why we want to be a support system for you, whomever's watching, and you feel our stories that we shared, just a piece of it. We just want to encourage you and tell you that you're not alone. That, if you're experiencing homelessness or feeling like you're unstable, you're bouncing from house to house, from situation to situation, you will overcome it. You just have to know what it is that you're trying to accomplish and do it. No matter what comes up, no matter what you have to experience, you put it in your mind and in your heart that you're going to do it. And it's going to happen. It has no choice but to happen. Success is inevitable for you. You just have to believe it. So, yeah, I just think me remembering what my why was helped me get through that, and has helped me get through the life that I now lead. That ain't the only thing I done been through. I've been through so much more stuff that we gonna get into, but that was one of the defining moments of my life, of my journey, where I really had to figure it out on my own and get it. And I got my degree. I graduated in 2014. Bachelor's of Science, major biology, minor in chemistry. I then went on to get my PhD. Dr. Chris is correct. So it's like, you got to get it. You want it? Okay. Go get that shit. That's all I had. Kai.
No, let me see. No, I think that's it. We at our time. But I mean, like I said before, there's more, definitely backstories to those whole situations or whatever, but that was just a little sprinkle, the tip of the iceberg or whatever on those stories. Child, I was a mess. I just definitely want to give a shout out to the store manager from McDonald's, Dan. Cause child, I know he had a time dealing with me, child. Who Lord, he's like, okay, you can't talk to them customers like that. I'm like, well, them customers not about to talk to me like that. Oh my God, really think about it. Oh my God, I was really shot a little firecracker. A little firecracker. The car salesman called me AK-47. That was me. AK-47. But anywho, so yeah, you think we should do like another one part to this one, or just like let this be that and then we just move on to the next story time whenever we decide to.
We can do another story time. I mean, but if you feel like this part of our story is incomplete, we can always do a two and then another one.
Hmm. We gonna talk. We gonna talk. All right. So you have your words of motivation, of inspiration.
Y'all are reason. And everything that you've been through, everything you've experienced is for a reason. You have to dig deep and figure out what you are supposed to learn from your experiences. What is this trying to teach you? What lessons are you supposed to pass in order to reach the next level in your journey? You're going to see some things. You're going to learn some things. You're going to be a little disappointed when you see and learn, the connections. I remember I said, when you start healing, That's when you really see who down for you and who not. You know, people that claim, oh, I'm so proud of you. Oh my God, you're healing. You're growing. Do they really rock with you like that? And once you see it, you gonna try to convince yourself that that's not what you saw? You have to be okay with moving forward without the people that you were in pain with. Not everybody will understand. Not everybody will support. But at the end of the day, you have to remember that it's about you, your growth, your healing, so that you can reach the level that you're progressing towards. And you can do it. I believe in you. Kai believes in you. Do you believe in yourself? Do you believe in yourself? Hello. If you dependent on other people to do your work, that's the first stop. That's the first wrong thing you need to correct. Because it's all on you. What you want, you got to make something shake. You got to make it happen. So continue. Keep growing, keep thriving, keep healing. And it will all come together. It'll all start to make sense. Oh, now I see why I had to go through that. That's what I was supposed to learn. Oh, that's what that was trying to teach me. Oh, that's why she said X, Y, Z. Because she felt like this towards me. She thought this about me.
Um, Dr. Chris, you can hear us? You can hear me? Can you hear me? Can't hear you. Can you hear me? I don't know. Okay, y'all. So having some technical issues. But I guess I'll go ahead and close it out with our daily affirmation. And it's just something that I've heard my entire life. I'm pretty sure y'all heard it y'all entire lives too. If it don't kill you, it make you stronger. What don't kill you makes you stronger. And no, it may not seem like, it's working in your favor, like when you're going through the storm, but it's definitely happening for a reason. Like, I don't regret nothing that I've been through. Like, I'm glad that I went through it. I'm glad that it was with the people that I went through it with too, because they just prepared me for the whole rest of the fucked up world. Like, for real. But if it don't kill you, it's just gonna make you stronger. It's just like I'm gonna keep saying this over and over and over again. It's just like school. Everything that you learned in the first grade, you're going to take it with you to the second grade, and then you're going to learn something else on top of it. Then you're going to take everything that you learned from the first and second grade, and then that's going to apply to the third grade. Everything that you go through, every trial, tribulation, everything that you go through, it is something that you're supposed to be learning, and you're supposed to be taking that to the next chapter of your life. Like, it's no losses. The L's is for lessons, because we living and we learning. That's all you can do. It's only a loss when you are not learning from everything that you've been through. So whether it's people that you need to cut off, your own personal behaviors, yes, people. Hey, sis. So everything that you go through is definitely a lesson. And like I said before, if just know that if you don't do it, it's not gonna get done, because you cannot depend on nobody else to do anything for you. You have to do it yourself. Either you want it or you don't, and the universe gonna say, well, how bad you want it, and what are you willing to do to get to where you want to be life. So the opportunity presents itself, and you have the option to either take that path or take another path. That's it. That's all. So, and with that being said, we are going to close out. And Dr. Chris will be coming back.
Is my sound back? Oh, my bad, y'all. I got a call. Let's see, August 12th, 2023.
Well, we're going to see y'all August 12th. We're going to do 5 o'clock, maybe 7 o'clock. We still trying to see some things. So we definitely going to let y'all know. It's either going to be 5 or 7.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. Okay. 5 or 7, because we transitioning, and just because we making these videos and we have this podcast, that don't mean that our lives are perfect. Let me just go ahead and put that out there real quick. That don't mean our lives perfect. That just means that we handle things differently, and we are learning our lessons. And if we can help somebody else to get through a time that's challenging, similar to the things that we have already been through, we want to help. But we ain't saying that we perfect and we live in the, I mean, we live in, okay, yeah, nothing good.
Right.
but you know, we still go through challenges too. And guess what? When we get through whatever we get through, we're gonna be able to help other people to get through something that they could be going through similar, you know? So we just living and learning, rolling with the punches, and speaking our truth. Okay. All right, y'all. You have anything else, Dr. Chris?
No, y'all. I ain't got nothing else to say. As always, have any comments, questions, concerns, y'all already know to contact us. My IG is I__. Kai's is Kai_the hood therapist. You can email us at safetospeak222@gmail.com. Our YouTube is It's Safe Speak Your Truth. So there are so many ways that you can contact us, and we are available and willing to assist you in any way, shape, or form that we can. Support into you to strengthen you in some way. That's the purpose of this platform. So if you have anything that you have, need from us, please don't hesitate to reach out.
Yep, what she said. And thank you, Danny. Thank you. That's what set us apart from the rest. We just be trying to keep it real.
We try.
That's all. Just keep it a little real. Just, a little authentic. Not out here lying to people in these streets like a lot of these folks on Beyonce internet be doing.
That's another topic, friend. We gonna leave it where it's at.
All right, y'all. We gonna see y'all later. Bye.
Bye.